أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا حبيبنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أما بعد قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من رأى منكم منكرا فليغير بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان. My dear brothers and sisters, our beloved Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a very profound and a beautiful hadith where he says, if any of you see something wrong, let them change that wrong with their own hands. If you cannot do that, let them speak against it. And if they cannot do that, let them hate it in their hearts. For that is the lowest stage of Iman, lowest stage of faith. In other words, as a believer, as a true believer, we are duty bound, my dear brothers and sisters, to take action by becoming involved. Not passively, but actively. Getting our hands dirty when something is going wrong in order to fix it. In order to fix social problems, economic problems, social problems when it comes, even when our families go wrong. In our neighborhood if something is going wrong. In our schools if something is going wrong. With our children if something is going wrong. My brothers and sisters, if you see something wrong, what would you do? If you see something wrong at your own home, what would you do? Would you just walk away? Would you just stay silent and would you say, actually, you know what? It's not my business. I don't need to be involved. I'm just going to walk away. I'm going to resign. I'm going to go into seclusion. I'm going to go into isolation. Would that be your response? No. But that is not a response of a believer. If you see somebody is being robbed on the street, and if you have the capacity to intervene and help, I'm pretty certain you will. Because that's what human beings do. It's our instinctive response. If I'm walking down the street and if you see me taking the road while a car is running in my direction at a high speed, you would do everything possible to pull me back so that I'm not killed. That's a human response, human reaction. And yet in our country, my brothers and sisters, today, more people are getting food from food banks in the UK today. What are we doing about it? What are you doing about it? Why is poverty on the rise? And why do we have a small band of people who are rich getting richer every day? What are you doing about it? Social inequality in our society. What are you doing about children who are living in poverty? I was listening to a lady's interview the other day and she was crying on the phone saying, I'm choosing between fuel, keeping my house warm, and my food. There are people who are going to sleep in our country hungry and you're going to sleep with your stomach full. What are you doing about this social ill that has become so prevalent in our society today? What are you doing about the knife crime that are killing our children on a daily basis, especially in our city in London? On a regular basis, day in, day out, we hear children being stabbed to death. Young, innocent children are being killed. People mistaken identity and people are being killed, even if the identities were correct. Why are young people taking the lives of other young people? Why are young people carrying knives in their own pockets or in their bags? Why is it fashionable for them to belong to gangs? Why is it acceptable for them to sell drugs? Why is it acceptable for them to carry guns? Why is it acceptable for them to behave in such a manner in our society? What are you doing about the wrong that you're seeing in our community today? What are you doing? Passive, inactive, resigned, apathetic community isn't actually a Muslim community. Muslim community is a community that takes active steps in order to remedy society from all ills, especially when the illnesses are to do with taking people's lives, murder, mayhem. My brothers and sisters, should we continue telling you about the problems in our society? I think you know it all. Our children are facing a terrible time in their education, in their school. Our kids are not getting fully educated in their schools because schools don't have enough money to be able to spend or buy material. I receive emails from the schools of parents who forwarded to me saying their school wrote to them saying, can you please donate? We don't have enough money to be able to buy books and pens and papers for our kids. In our country, in 21st century world, when our government could find enough money to create wars and fund dictators and despots or support them or do things that are unethical in all other parts of the world, our government is not able to find money for our kids' education. Even if our children are going to schools, what education they're getting at the moment, it looks like they're not getting equal education to kids who go to private schools. If you're rich, you can buy good education for your children. But if you're poor like me, you have to do with the worst of the education. How is it fair that we've got two-tier system in education? How is it fair that we have two-tier system in our legal services? If you're poor, you can't buy justice. But if you're rich, you can go to the court and petition the High Court because you've got the money. It's not working, something has gone wrong. Our NHS is crumbling from within. People are dying left, right and center. Old elderly people are left in trolleys, waiting to be treated for days on end. You have to wait 6 months to a year before you even hear from your hospital referrals that you get from your doctors. Something has gone wrong in our society. And you and I are just passive. We're just consumers of whatever services we get. That is not good enough for a Muslim. For Rasulullah said, مَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَلْيُغَيِّرُ بِيَدِهِ. If any of you see something that is wrong, let him or her change that wrong with their hand. All the things that I've described, from inequality, from no investment in our NHS, in our education, to see our legal services failing, to see how our children are getting involved in drugs and crime, all these are wrong. What are you doing about changing this as Muslims in this society? What are you doing about it? Is it enough for you to wake up in the morning and go to work and come home, go to work and come home and drop your children at school and not worry about how you're making a contribution to changing our society, to changing the way our society is behaving and our government is running? If it was okay, then Rasulullah would not have said, "Man ra'a minkum munkaran فليغير بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبي وذلك أضعف الإيمان." If it was enough for you and I to be passive, it won't be the case. What Allah says in the Quran, and replace an evil with something that is better. And a command, Allah is saying, replace an evil with something that which is better. He's saying, believe and do good deeds. He says in the Quran, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. You're the best of people. Do you know why you're the best of people? Because you are concerned about the society. You're the best of people because you care about the society in which you live. You're best of people because you go out there to make a change. You're best of people because you are involved actively to bring about social, political, economic change in your society for the better. You're not passive. You're not passive. You're not passive. What Allah says in the Quran is essentially, you're the best of people because you care. You've been raised to care. You go out and do good. You invite other people to do good. And you stand against evil. And you prevent evil from taking over the society. And then Allah says, وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. And then you believe in Allah. My brothers and sisters, we have an election around the corner. Election is coming up on the 12th of December. Some Muslims believe, totally wrongly, erroneously, that voting is haram. Completely and utter wrong. You live in a society where you are a citizen. This is your home. In this country, your education system is decided by a parliament. Your environmental decision is made by parliament. Your everyday life is affected by the parliament. Your money, how much taxes you pay, is decided by the parliament. Your foreign policy is decided by the parliament. Your defense policy is decided by the parliament. Your agricultural policy is decided by the parliament. Your food is decided by the parliament. And you think sitting at home, not participating in your future, in shaping your country, and not taking part in election is acceptable for a Muslim? How is that even logical? If you don't like this country, if you don't like to participate, then leave. Go to a place where you can. For a Muslim cannot live in a place that they don't make any contribution. A Muslim, it is not befitting for a Muslim to live in a place where they don't make a contribution. For those who say we should not be voting in the coming election or an election, they have made a huge mistake. It is not acceptable to say something like that. We must make sure that we vote, and we vote for the right candidate. Not for the right party, right candidate. I'll tell you why. When somebody comes and knocks on your door for the election, ask them, what are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for my community? What are you going to do for my neighborhood? What are you going to do for my country? What are you going to do for the people of the world? How are you going to represent my views in the parliament? Because it's your MP who is going to represent your views in the parliament. The party that forms the government is the party that receives the majority of the MPs. But each and every one of us can make a difference. Did you know, my brothers and sisters, more than 20 constituencies in this country today, 20 constituencies in this country today have more than 20,000 to 30,000 Muslim population living in each of them. They're called marginal seats. Each of those MPs' fates could be determined by your vote. I'll give you an example. Our current Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he is an MP from Hillingdon, Uxbridge in Hillingdon. His majority is 5,000. Do you know how many Muslims live in Uxbridge and Hillingdon? More than 25,000. Mr. Boris Johnson, who called Muslim sisters robbers, thieves, he called Muslim sisters wearing niqab looking like letterboxes. He refused to apologize, and he refused to carry out an investigation against his party's Islamophobia. There has been a massive problem within the Conservative Party. If you wanted to teach Boris Johnson a lesson, as Rasul said, if you see something wrong, go and change it with your hand. Boris Johnson has been wrong to our community. He has got away with things that he should not have said. Muslims should be going out there and voting with their feet against Boris Johnson to unseat him so that he doesn't do this ever again. But Muslims are not going to do that. You know why? Because they're not active. They're not interested. They're passive. It is not acceptable. In today's newspaper, in the Guardian newspaper, there is a massive column at the front page which says Jewish academics, Jewish writers, Jewish scholars, Jewish communities are coming together and saying we cannot vote for anyone who is anti-Semitic. Rightly so. They should not be voting for anyone who is anti-Semitic. We should not be voting for anyone who preaches phobia, who is promoting Islamophobia or anti-Semitism or racism. We should be challenging each and every candidate who is standing for the election. So I'm asking you to take matters on your own hand. As described in the Quran, as Allah says, you're the best of people because you care. You're best of people because you're active. You're best of people because you go and do good and enjoy good, inviting other people to do good. You're best of people because you stand against evil and you prevent evil from happening. Whoever is perpetrating evil, whether they're a Muslim or non-Muslim, it makes no difference. We must stand together for the collective interest of all of our people. And that's why, my brothers and sisters, our upcoming election is a major milestone in our country. You must vote in the coming election. If you don't vote for a candidate, somebody else will vote. That person will get elected, with or without your vote. And if you abstain, you have already contributed to the person's winning. And if the person is wrong, by abstaining, you have enabled that person to win, and you will be responsible for it too. So, vote for the right person. Get involved in making sure you ask the right question to your parliamentarians who are coming and knocking on your doors. This is your home. This is the home of our parents. My father came to this country in 1957. He died here. I buried him in this country. My uncle came to this country in 1960s. He died here. I buried him in this country. My mother lives here. I live here. My wife lives here. My children live here. I most likely will die in this country. I most likely will be buried in this country. This is my home. This is your home. If you have doubts about your home, wake up. You're not going to go anywhere. People who came a long time ago, they stayed and they will remain. My brothers and sisters, The best of people are those people who are beneficial to humanity. Rasulullah said, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَنْفَعُ النَّاسِ. Remember this hadith. خَيْرُ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَنْفَعُ النَّاسِ. The best of people are the ones who are best and most beneficial to other people. Allah says you're the best of people. Rasulullah said, you're the best of people. Do you know why? Because you're beneficial to people. How are you beneficial? By being passive and not taking part in the upcoming election, by voting for the right person. Some of you may turn around and say, okay, none of the candidates are good for me. None of the political parties are representing my views. Fantastic. If that's what you believe, brilliant. Why don't you create your own political party? Why don't you stand in the election independently if you don't believe in any of the political parties to be representing your views? Why don't you stand independently? What is stopping you from creating your own political party? Apathy or laziness? Or indifference, or can't be bothered, or being the armchair critique, just like yapping away, not doing anything about the change. Brothers and sisters, a sister told me the other day, she said, it is easy to die for Islam, but it is very difficult to live Islam every day. It is easy to die for Islam, but it is very difficult to live a Muslim every day. It is so true. It is so true. If we want to live as a Muslim, we must get out of our lazy couches, our armchairs, our apathy and absolutely disconnected mindset and come to the true message of Islam. If none of the parties represent your interest, stand yourself. In the last election, 2015 that happened recently, 2017, the snap election that took place, I stood myself independently because I did not believe in any of the parties representing our interests. So I stood myself in an area and I campaigned and I gave every penny's worth of the sitting MP, and that MP worked very hard, tirelessly, and she changed her ways because I stood and I gave her a challenge. After the election was over, I didn't win. She said, this man made me work very hard. This man made me afraid of my seat. This man made me rethink about my ways of connecting with my constituencies. I took my constituencies for granted, but I'm no longer going to do that. Brothers and sisters, if you don't believe in any of the politicians, if you don't believe in any of the political parties, I beg you, I challenge you, stand independently. It doesn't cost much. It doesn't cost much. You have to put your nomination with the Electoral Commission on time and put your publicity material out. Get your manifesto to be read by people, campaign door to door, knock on people's doors, go to businesses, speak to people, tell people why they should vote for you. If you don't want to do that, if you don't want to vote for anybody, you just want to be lazy, or you just want to benefit from the society, then you're not fulfilling the criteria Allah has laid out in the Quran about the best of people. He said, the best of people are those who go out to people, who invite people to do good, and who prevent people from doing evil. My brothers and sisters, Allah says in the Quran, وَتَعَوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Join together, cooperate with one another in that which is good. And don't cooperate in things that is evil and shameful. My brothers and sisters, I tell you, I beg you, I even challenge some of you. If we don't come together as Muslims and non-Muslims in this society, Christians, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims, together to consolidate our country, to rid our society of the curse of drugs, to rid our society of the curse of the knife crime, to rid our society of corruption, to rid our society of criminality and violence, we will not be peaceful. You can't do it on your own. Nobody can do it on their own. We live in a multicultural society. We are less than 5% of the total population. We cannot do it ourselves. We must do it with other people together. And that's why in this election, you must create alliances with people. That's why Allah says in the Quran, وَتَعَوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. Come together and cooperate with people in that which is good for you, beneficial for you, that which will prevent the society from de-escalating, from demoting itself, from degeneration to evil and criminality and people who are corrupt ruling you. My brothers and sisters, you cannot make an excuse after the 12th of December, oh no, look who is ruling our country today. You can't make that excuse if you didn't do anything about it. So if you are a voter, brilliant, make sure you vote in the coming election. If you have not registered your vote, please do so, because the deadline to register is coming up very soon. I can't remember the exact date, but towards the end of November, not long to go, most likely the 20th of November. Don't quote me on this, check it out. Register your vote and vote for the person who will represent the views adequately, fairly, justly and truly in the parliament. And challenge the parliamentarians or wannabe parliamentarians who come and knock on your door. Don't give them your vote because they come from a political party. Don't give them your vote because they come from your nationality or your religion or your ethnicity. Don't give them your vote because he or she is your brother, sister, cousin or long distance nephew. No! Ask them, why should I vote for you? And what will you do for me and for my country and for my people? It's your duty. It is an amana, an opportunity to change. And like I said, if you don't believe in this, and you don't like what is happening here, and you don't want to change what is happening here, then wallahi, do yourself a favor. Go to a country and a place where you can be relevant, beneficial, constructive, and you can engage in bringing about change for yourself and for a society where you belong and you feel you belong. I belong here. This is my home. This is my children's home. And I will do everything possible for the well-being of my home in this country. And I am asking you to do the same. I believe Allah is telling all of us to make sure that we are beneficial and we're the best of people because we care and we share. May Allah give us the strength to be able to practice all that we have heard. May Allah enable us so that we can bring about change in our society for the betterment for all people. May Allah give us the strength to be able to be part of that change and become the change makers. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. My brothers and sisters, some of you may be saying, why is this Imam talking about election and politics from the pulpit? Some of you may be saying this. Let me tell you this. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to address his community from his pulpit. And he talked about every topic under the sun. Every topic, including politics. Because politics makes society run. You choose your representatives who lead you. I'll give you a good story. One day, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu was sitting at home and resting. Man came and knocked on his door. Ali came out and said, yes. The man said, yeah, Ali, I have a complaint. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I have a complaint. What's your complaint? The man said to Ali ibn Abi Talib, my complaint is, when Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman were ruling, we didn't have so much fitna, Ya Ali, as we have at your time. Why do we have so much fitna? Ali looked at the man and he said something very beautiful. He said, when Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman were ruling, they were ruling people like me, and I am ruling people like you. Do you understand? Ali is saying so profound a statement. Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman were ruling people like me, and I'm ruling people like you. In other words, you get the leadership that you deserve. You can't complain on the 13th of December, oh no, the wrong government is formed in our country. When we were 5 to 7 million Muslims in this country, we could have decided the constituencies of at least 20 MPs. 20 MPs' fate could have been decided, and we did not take part. Not only did we not take part, in fact, we did not take part strategically. We did not take part cleverly, and we did not vote with our feet. Don't complain afterward. It is still the time. It is still time on our hand. Register your vote. Go and engage with the parliamentarians, wannabe parliamentarians, the candidates from all parties. Ask them the pertinent questions. And if you still think they're not representing your views, you stand in the election. Take us out with you. We'll campaign with you if you've got the right message. And if you can galvanize people, and if you get voted, maybe you will be our MP. Maybe you will be, why not? Every single person is deserving and worthy of an attempt to lead their community if they feel suitable to do so. My brothers and sisters, what is not acceptable is laziness. What is not acceptable is, I can't be bothered. That not botheredness is not a trait of a believer. You should be bothered because Allah Azza wa Jalla has sent you on this earth to be bothered. Your faith is a faith of bother. When Rasulullah said, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, the whole of Arabia was bothered because it made a group of people who bothered by what was happening around them. It is not acceptable for you to go to sleep while your neighbors go to sleep hungry. It is not acceptable for you to go to sleep while your children are at risk of being knifed to death outside on your streets. It is not acceptable for you to go to sleep while right next door to you somebody is selling drugs. And it is not acceptable for us to go to sleep while in our country inequalities exist. It is not acceptable for Muslims to sleep at ease without doing something about it. And what do we do about it? The way to do things is to be involved with greater alliance of people. I'll give you one example, and this will give you clarity about what I'm saying. In one area, Muslims were trying to extend their mosque, but the local authority did not give them permission. Local authority said no. Why did they say no? When other faith will complain. So the Muslim community from that area went and met with the Christians, met with the Jewish community, met with the Hindu community, Sikh community. They brought them all together. And all together they made a petition to the council. Everyone said, we support the Muslim community to extend their mosque. We're Christians, we're Jews, we're Hindus, we're Sikhs. Please don't object to it. Council had no choice but to grant the permission to extend the mosque, because everybody came together. In East London, I remember one school excluded one girl for not participating in mixed swimming. School's policy is that their kids will go to mixed swimming. And Muslim parents said, no, I don't want to get my girl to mixed swimming sessions. If there are girls only swimming sessions, then my girl can go. The head teacher excluded that girl as a punishment. The local priest wrote to the head teacher complaining, and head teacher apologized straight away. Even though the father begged, asked the teacher, head teacher, to change his mind, he didn't. But as soon as a letter went from a Christian priest, the head teacher was okay. Because it creates power. By bringing people together from all faith, you create power. People of faith should be people of power today. People of faith have become least powerful because people of faith don't work together anymore. Who's asking you to give up on the principles of your religion? Nobody. You keep to the principles of your religion. You invite your Sikh friend, Hindu friend, Jewish friend, Christian friend to come together on the common issue of your society, of your neighborhood, of your constituency. Where we are today, what is the most important problem that is blighting this society? It could be knife crime. Create an alliance against knife crime of faith leaders. It could be drugs that are being sold on your street. Create an alliance of faith leaders against drugs. It could be prostitution. It could be all sorts of evil that is happening in your society. It could be as much as your road being used for speeding purposes. Create an alliance. That's how Muslims will be able to change the society in which they live. Brothers and sisters, remember, we are citizens of this country. This is our home. People of this country are our people. And we must be concerned about the welfare of our home and of our people. Otherwise, we might as well not claim to be Muslims. Rasulullah said again, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَنْفَعُ النَّاسِ. The best of people are those people who are most beneficial to their humanity, to their fellow human beings. Ask yourself this question. How are you being beneficial? My brothers and sisters, ask yourself this question. How are you being beneficial to Britain today? How are you being beneficial to London today? You know, a bake-off program on television, bake-off program for those of you see. One girl, she won bake-off, the Muslim girl, Nadia Hussain, a couple of years ago. Just by her winning bake-off program, she destroyed the stereotypes like nobody has done for years in one go. You don't know what contribution you would make positively by being a good Muslim and by representing your faith in honest, genuine and authentic manner. You may transform the landscape where Islamophobia could have been rampant, but because of you, it changed forever. So your contribution is essential. Your participation is essential. You must vote in the coming election for the right person, right party and the right candidate who can benefit everybody. If you haven't registered your vote, you must register to vote immediately. And if you don't believe in any of these parties, if you don't believe in any of the candidates, please go and stand. Those are my final words. My brothers and sisters, on the Day of Judgment, will be asked about our days on this earth. We'll be asked about our moments and opportunities. And our children will say, oh my father, oh my mother, an opportunity came in 2019 for you to determine my future and our future, but you chose not to. What will we say to our children? And what will we say to Allah on the Day of Judgment? I am not using the pulpit to propagate a particular party policy. That's not my job. My job here is to rouse you, to encourage you, to make you feel excited by the prospect of change. And the only way you can change, the key is in your hand. You must go out and change. You must go out with your families and friends and vote. And you must vote with your feet in order to change and show that we together can make a difference. My brothers and sisters, may Allah forgive us. May Allah empower us. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Akramul Akrameen. Make us a united people, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, forgive us our mistakes, Ya Allah. Forgive us our sins, Ya Allah. Make us the people who can bring about a change, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Akramul Akrameen. Open up our hearts. Open up the hearts of our communities so we can work together to bring about people who can represent us in our parliament in the good way, in the best way, in the most beneficial way, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Akramul Akrameen. Protect our children, Ya Allah. Protect our country, Ya Allah. Protect our people, Ya Allah. Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Restore peace and stability on this earth, Ya Allah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة.